Black like me. Black like me. Black like me.
You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
Hey, good people. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G. Eli and I were just talking. We are in our 12th season. Eli's been probably a part of every episode, about 200 plus episodes. And it is just exciting to see that the studios continue to be filled with people who are talking about good things that's happening in this community. This is only my third time broadcasting from my new podcast studios. It's part of the recording studio at the Center for Black Excellence and Culture. And earlier today, I was on a Zoom call, and I was letting my COO, Janine, know that if she comes back, I'm going to be recording the podcast. And I said, I'll be down in the podcast studio. And I said, I don't have to leave the building. I don't have to go to Word Radio. I don't have to go to the church. I get to go downstairs to the actual podcast studio and do my thing I am. So I'm really excited about this series where we are talking about the launch for the Center for Black Excellence and Culture. You all know what it is, a state-of-the-art space that's helping to promote excellence and great expectation through art, culture, technology, unique partnerships, intergenerational partnerships, and a place where the Black community in Wisconsin is staking its claim and developing its own pathways to a sense of belonging and not waiting for someone else to give that to us. But I thought, in addition to talking about and talking to the Black people who will benefit from this, I also want to talk to partners, allies, vendors who really helped this to happen, because sometimes people will drive by a building like this and don't understand that actual relationships were built. We talk about the money that's raised or the bricks and mortar that's laid, but we don't talk about the relationships that are built when you come together on something like this. And I think a great way to build unity across any gap, not the least of which is racial gaps, is when you work on something together. So we're here talking about this today, and my guests are from Findorff Construction Company, the award-winning construction company. 2025 became an award-winning construction company, and I'm here today with its CEO, Jim Yehle, and one of his project managers, Denzel Bibbs. And so I'm so glad that they're here. They've been in business, or Findorff has been in business since 1890. Jim, you don't even look that old. Founded by J.H. Findorff in 1890, construction company story began in Madison, where they have since expanded to offices in Milwaukee and Wausau and continue to grow throughout the state and across the U.S. I would say that their claim to fame has really been school construction, healthcare, multifamily, science and technology. And Jim, I believe you guys even built like the last rendition of our state capitol. Was that you guys?
We have been over the years fortunate to work on some portions of the
some
state
portion
capitol.
of it, because that's a
it's
big
been a while.
sucker. As of 2025, it became employee owned, which I think is fairly unique for construction companies, and have a real talented team. And I've gotten to know these folks, and more importantly, I've become personal friends. I would say, Jim may not say that we're friends, but that we are friends. Jim and Denzel, welcome to Black Like Me.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex, for having us.
Yes. And so now, Jim, you've just recently done a DNA test. So you found that you're about 12% Black, right?
Oh, geez. We're going there already, huh?
I just thought I'd get the first one. He said, already knew what's coming. No, I'm so
13%,
glad. 13%.
Not 12.
Well, who's counting?
Come on.
So it's really good to have you guys here. The more we hang out, definitely. How are you feeling today, Jim?
Feeling great. Both Denzel and I, it's our first time doing podcasts. So.
Okay.
So
all right.
We're newbies.
All right. So Denzel, how are you feeling about this?
Pretty great. Weather is getting warmer, and the best way to start my first podcast is here at the center. So.
Yo, this is so great, man. So listen, Jim and I we've double dated with our wives. We have had a chance to hang out over the years. Denzel is someone who I probably have shared space with quite regularly over the last 15, 16 months, as he was really point person. He and Jenna Gruder have been working really closely, but Jenna keeps telling me Denzel is the man here, that in name she's a project manager, but he's the assistant, but he's been running this site. And so we'll talk a little bit about how we met. But Jim, do you remember how we were introduced to each other, or how we met some years ago? It was on a construction site, wasn't it?
I do. Where we first met in person.
Sure.
And then I think, Alex, maybe we talk a little about how we met through some of those cross-cultural discussions.
Yes.
With United Way, too, that I think brought us closer together. But
Definitely.
I could not do it justice, a little story of how we met.
Sure.
At that groundbreaking, 5-6 years ago. So
Actually, Jim, the groundbreaking was before the online stuff.
I know. Yes, that was even before that.
So it was during COVID. So yeah, like 5-6 years ago. Wow, where's the time going? You're
right when COVID got started.
Yes. Oh.
Right? So probably 2020. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to talk a little bit
Please,
about
No. Go. Yeah, please go for it, man. Set it
that
up.
day? So Findorff was awarded the expansion for St. Mary's, SSM Health, and their Fish Hatchery campus, which is now called South Madison campus. And we were getting ready to do groundbreaking on that project. And it was COVID because Alex and I were both masked up.
That's right.
The event was outside that day, so we were able to gather, and Alex and I were, part of the speakers. So we had a chance to sit next to each other, and I said to Alex, "Hey, Alex, nice to meet you. I've heard your name. My predecessor, Dave Beckengle, and you have had relationships over years, but I hadn't." So we had a chance to see each other with our masks and doing our speeches that day, and then we had a little follow-up for that. I think it's probably more appropriate for you to talk about that follow-up and how that might have meant something. So.
Sure. So I knew that the plans for the Center for Black Excellence and Culture were underway. They were halted a bit because of COVID, but I knew that at some point we'd have to get back to the drawing board. As Jim mentioned, I had coffee a couple of times with Dave Beckengle, so I thought Dave was still the CEO. So when Jim told me who he was and his title, I thought, well, did he get rid of Beckengle? Where did Beck? They keep changing people around here on me.
They just kind of disappear.
Yeah, they just kind of disappear.
Yeah,
like shh, we don't talk about this. And I remember saying to you something to the effect of, I've got this idea, and maybe we'll work together on another groundbreaking up on Badger Road, because I've got this project in my head. And then you followed up with a handwritten note. And I just remember thinking, who writes notes anymore? Like, people text, like, even on my birthday, like, friends and family are like, "Hey, happy birthday." And I'm like, pick up the phone and call me. Like, what do you mean texting me? I'm your favorite uncle. I'm your favorite cousin. Call me. And when you sent that note, it just opened this door. It made me just think, wow, this is the way people used to do business. They know each other. They connect with each other. And it wasn't just the thoughtfulness of the note, but it gave me this sense of what being a part of a community profit and nonprofit, people building relationships, building bridges, and building facilities together to help the community. That just sort of gave me a sense of what it could feel like to be part of a network that's doing good together. And then we started connecting, and then things were going on in Madison after George Floyd's death, after that murder. And I offered a couple of sessions to talk to people along with Renee Moe at United Way. And then we were going to pause after about 3 meetings about what was going on in the community. And then you said, why don't we keep it going? And I'll staff it. I'll bring staff so that we can organize it and put it together. And that team ended up meeting on Zoom for about, what, Jim, like 2 years?
18 months. And I would say, too, Alex, as part of it, you and Renee came together to get local CEOs to just talk about what's going on. And what I appreciate, if I just talk for just a couple minutes, is that a lot of us leaders were ready to have a solution. Okay, Alex, what do we need to do? Renee. And I
Right.
appreciate that you said, stop, you need to learn and hear what has brought us to this point before we can have a solution.
Exactly.
And I think we were eager beavers ready to go and solve this. Alex, tell us do this, and we're going to solve it. And I really appreciate how you talked to some leaders in the community and said you need to listen and learn. And you talked about history. People learned a lot with that. And I will admit, meeting you that day at the groundbreaking, but then having the sessions, I was intimidated of, will I say the right thing? Would I not say it right? What if Alex asked, Jim, do you know how we got here? Do you know this or that? And I just think your approach to bring people into the solution versus isolate people is what then really brought me towards you as a person. And the way you approach challenges as opportunities for healing and working together. And as we had those sessions, people were into it, and some people dropped off, couldn't make it, but then there was like a core group of us, of some pretty important leaders in town that said, let's keep it going. So then you and I talked, and we said, let's keep this going. So we did a few more, like another year or so of just the more community-based. But I think during that time then, when things were kicking off at the center, we had an opportunity then. You invited me to join the Capital Campaign Committee, and we did that for a couple of years before Denzel and the team here. And, and got to do the good work on site. So very powerful moment for me to get to meet you and how it really impacted and shaped my career and the way I feel about this community.
That's why we like to have these conversations, Jim, because if we don't tell the stories, people just think, oh, they did a deal, they showed up at, at closing or groundbreaking, and that's how this all happened. But you're right to help lay out that history that we were together at SSM for that groundbreaking. And again, that Zoom conversation was meant to be only 3 sessions. And then when you encouraged us to keep going, I didn't do it with my center hat on because the center had not yet fully been developed. It was just an idea. And I didn't do it with my Nehemiah hat on. And that's the other nonprofit that I started, that I was running at the time. I just did it as a community person. I was floored at how, as a group of CEOs, you all leaned in and just admitted, I didn't know that. I didn't understand that. Like, I didn't know race played a role in this, or I didn't understand, you all didn't understand dog whistle politics or things that were signaling negative things. And it was a real educational moment. And then it's so interesting that we fast forward now to 2026 and you've built, like, my dream, like this is my life's work, and you built it, but yet you're intimidated by not saying the right things, and like, how do I enter into black space? And then you built 37,500 square feet of black space for me so that we could have those conversations with friends, with allies. So it's interesting that I didn't go into the discussions with that thought in mind, and I purposefully did not bring the center up because, again, it was just a concept. But it's amazing that a lot of people that were on that call, whether it's Kim Sponham from Summit, or Bill Westrate from American Family Insurance, or Kevin Conroy from Exact Sciences, which is now becoming Abbott Laboratories. We built all these meaningful relationships talking about how we navigate what was happening in Madison as leaders, not knowing that we're going to work together on something that would help to address those issues on a much larger scale. So it's just interesting what happens when you come to the table and stay at the table.
Well, and even like I would think, Alec, the physical building that we're here and we're going to celebrate is the physical building, but think of all the relationships that were built and the impact that you made on people that they then take to the work that they're doing. I would say, maybe we'll hit it later, but even being with you on the process of the capital campaign and being in meetings with you as a black man and me as a white man, and how people are treated and not treated was very eye-opening. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I sure do.
It was very eye-opening, and maybe more you in the nonprofit side of the community, me more in the private business side, and just how people are treated and how things happen or don't happen was, I mean, a great educational experience for me, which is going to make me a better leader for my company and for the community going forward.
Exactly. You know, I think people feel sometimes in cross-cultural relationships, and Denzel, I'm not going to let you get away from the mic, so we're going to talk, but I think
you're getting the technical questions in a little bit.
But I think it's really important to lay out what Jim is talking about, because as a black man, I don't expect any one white person to fix all the race issues. But because you're in the room with when some of those discussions took place, and you're like, Alex, what the hell? Like, does this happen all the time? I'm like, Jim, it was clean because you were on the call. And so, but just having someone else witness it and identify it took a lot of the sting of it out. It's interesting because I think people get up each day thinking, I got to fix it. I got to stop it. I have to make sure there's absolutely no residual effects of racism. Like, you got to watch some of these things happen. And then to watch your response was therapeutic for me. Now, again, I still need those things to change. But I remember one day you said, but wow, if that's the way they change people, I have to think, do I still want to do business with them? Well, I'm not used to hearing my white friends who are allies getting equally pissed and thinking, well, you know, do I want to do business with a group like that? Or even understanding you had that power to play that card is understanding that you're really in a pivotal role, because you could say to someone who really needs your business, you know, I was in a meeting one time, and there's going to be a day, if it hasn't already happened, where you're going to be sitting, you're going to have a drink or a martini or something. And I know you drink Shirley Temples, but you're going to be someplace. That's right. You're going to be someplace, and that conversation might come up and just say, you know, I just kind of noticed. So by just being in that space and not being charged with fixing it, but just having the proximity to witness it, actually allowed me to laugh about the scenario. Because I can remember clearly in my head, you were actually walking in a wooded area. We were on the phone, and you were talking about what was going on. And I just for the folks who listen, because a lot of our listeners for Black Like Me are white individuals who want to be allies. No one's asking them to fix it, but observe it and don't deny it when it's happening. Like, you didn't try to talk me out of it, which a lot of people have done. Like, well, Alex, you know, I'm sure they ask everyone these kinds of questions. That's what people say over the years, like, don't be too sensitive, because when I worked at this other company, they were asked a lot of questions too. So it's probably not about race. You didn't do any of that. You just saw it for what you took it as. You
were a businessman making an ask.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you look like.
Exactly.
And they treated you different because of how you looked.
Exactly.
That's not okay.
But just to witness that, I just need people to know that piece, that part is really, really.
Well, it also motivated me more.
Sure.
To help more.
Wow.
Knowing what happens, maybe not every day, maybe every day.
Sure.
But what often happens to maybe you, and what I don't know and maybe take for granted some days, that how I'm treated or the things I'm afforded because of who I am. So it's awareness. Honestly, it's awareness.
Definitely.
I mean, I talk to our employees. Is it black? Is it white? It's just being good to people, period.
Sure.
To white people, being nice to each other.
Right,
To black
right.
people, whatever it is. It's how we treat each other. I mean,
Right.
Findorff, we call it building belonging. We don't have a tagline. It's about building belonging. How can
Yes.
everybody come to work as their whole self? Doesn't matter. It's not one orientation, one person. It's just everybody, no matter what you look like.
Definitely.
How can you be in a good place where you treat each other with kindness?
And the history that you allowed yourself to learn from enabled you to say, let's move together and promote belonging. But it also taught you that not everyone shows up intact.
Yes.
Because there are some people that are showing up in places and they just had this treatment. Like, so I had to shake that stuff off, because I've had other funders come to me and say, you know, when I'm sitting with my peers who are also grant makers, they ask questions of you, Lisa, Michael, Kaleem, Laleda, that they don't ask other people. I know that because I feel it, but to have them admit it. Now, what I need people to do is not just admit that to me. Now go do something. Like, don't come and tell me and think it's fixed. Now I know that's the case, and these are the same people I've got to stand in front of and ask funding, request funding. So it doesn't help me to know what they've said, and then now it's law laid at my lap. But the point is, people, I think, were surprised at how real these things are, because I think before they knew and trusted people that were having these experiences, I think it's easy to say, well, I don't know if it's really as bad as they say. Come on, these are the 2020s. People don't really do this anymore. This isn't like, America circa 1920. But I think people were really shocked, and then don't even know how engaged to stay. Like, do we lean in? And so, Jim, some of the things I've really respected about you, and this is not meant to be the Jim Yehle show, because this really is my podcast.
And I think it needs to be the Denzel show.
That's
pretty soon,
Joe.
too, so
I got lots
going.
of stuff for Denzel. But the point is, I sat in meetings with you when you went with me I went with you to talk with black construction companies or general contractors. Thank you. I was going to say general construction. I knew it was GC General. Yeah, right. Thank you for that. To say, how are things going, and what can we do to partner together with your business? Or are you interested in breaking into the Madison market? Or is there a way we can walk together? That's walking the talk too, because it's one thing to buy a table at the NAACP annual banquet. It's another thing to get in your car and drive to another city and talk with black business leaders to ask them how you can help with their dreams. And so these are things that I have really
and create a relationship
respected.
that's
and
true
create
for
a
long
relationship.
term. We still talk.
Definitely.
This job's done, but we're still talking.
Exactly.
Because it's genuine.
Definitely. And I think what we're talking about is what I want people to understand, that it's not meant to be transactional. Although we did do a business transaction, but it's not transactional, because if it were transactional, it would end after that.
And I would just say too, Alex, if I could, sorry.
Sure, no.
Like that capital campaign group that you brought us together for 18, 24 months, every Monday, 4 o'clock call, every week.
Every
a call.
week.
That group that stayed with it, I think, yes, we raised an amazing amount of money, which was great, but as we grew and learned as individuals, I think there's more than that monetary amount that measures the work that we achieved. But that group, it was very beneficial for me as a leader.
Yes.
So,
And I think
it was a
people
great
need to learn from
process.
it. Yes. People need to broaden their perspective if you're listening or you're part of a company that's trying to think about how to engage the broader community. Whether you can or can't use DEI. I talk about cross-cultural leadership development. Whatever it's called, if you're trying to engage a broader client base, customer base, guest base, it's more than just being transactional. You've got to really look at what you know about each other, what you do when you're not on the clock and you're not actively working on that project, because it's got to be broader if it's going to be meaningful. Yeah. And so I appreciate that.
And shout out to you, because this is the Alex G show.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in those calls when we said we're almost to $1 million. You're like, $1 million? Do my lips even say that word? I did that on purpose. Can I say $1 million? Can you ask someone for $1 million? How would I ask that?
Oh my gosh.
And then at the end, you're talking about eclipsing $30 million raised.
Yes.
So
I can't
all you
believe it.
out there, do a little clap for Alex and the team. Whatever it wants to be. But
thank you, Jim.
Don't lose that just because we're built. You got to remember what you did against a lot of odds.
Yes. My first 7-figure gift that I asked was for $10 million. And I was so nervous. This was on Zoom. I said 10,000. I said, I gave my whole pitch, went to my deck, and I said, and for this reason, I would like to ask you for $10,000. And they started laughing. And to this day, I don't know if they laughed because I said 10,000 or because I meant 10 million.
They said sold.
They said,
and you're like, no, a little bit more.
No, don't you?
They had 2 zeros.
I could see those 2 thumbs come up.
Yeah. 3 zeros.
Oh my goodness. So sitting next to Jim is Denzel Bibbs. And Denzel, it's really good to have you here. I've gotten to know Denzel well. Denzel made the mistake of giving me his cell phone number so that I could text him. I try not to do a lot of stuff in the evening, but Denzel probably knows this building better than anyone on the planet. I said to Jim that it's really important that we have, great workers, a great team, people who would get this project. But I didn't know that the person that would be tasked with overseeing this would look like me. That was a surprise. That was a gift. Even though, Denzel, you look 18 years old. Like
I get that a lot.
You get that a lot. And so when Denzel showed up, I thought he was an intern or something. I'm like, oh, this is cute. They're bringing bring your high schooler to the site day. But Denzel, your work. So let me just back up. You came to Madison for school, but you're from Indiana, correct?
Yes, I'm from Northwest Indiana and came to Madison to study mechanical engineering at UW-Madison. So that's what brought me to Madison back in 2014.
Gotcha. Jim, you're lucky that you can build a construction company with a fantastic engineering school. So I'm sure you bring so many people in from that. So Denzel, were you planning on staying in Madison?
No, I actually moved back to the Chicago area right after graduation. So
you did. That's right.
I worked at an automotive firm for about a year and a half, and then actually met Jim through college. I met Jim at the National Society of Black Engineers. We had a general body meeting. So it was a student organization on campus, and he kind of talked about Findorff, what Findorff does, and the student opportunity. So kind of kept in touch with Findorff even after graduation. And there was one day, during COVID, it was work from home and just wanted a career change. So the first, thing that popped in my mind was, what are the opportunities to move back into Madison? And I knew about Findorff, so thought I would apply and did a job shadow at a school job site. And I thought it was something that I wanted to get myself into. So I've been at Findorff for 5 years now and glad to call Madison my home.
Wow. We're glad that you called Madison.
And he's rocking it. Doing great.
Oh, definitely.
We're glad to have him.
Definitely. So now, Denzel, you were telling me this, and I'm trying to piece it together correctly, that, of course, you were here on the site for the 15, 16 months for construction, but you did some of the pre-work or some of the pre-design. What was your connection with the center before there was actually a construction site?
Yeah, so I was in our pre-construction department for about a year. And so I was doing a rotation through the pre-con department, learning about estimating, how we bid work, get subcontractors signed up, and how we start the construction process. So one of my last projects in the pre-con department was the center. So I got to know the ins and out of the building, the plans, doing takeoff as far as quantifying, the number of doors that are going to go into the building, the number of windows, things like that, and setting up all of our subcontractors and our plan to execute the work. So I was working on the center for probably about a year even before we started construction on site.
That's amazing, Denzel. That is a. Were you named after Denzel Washington?
Yes, I was.
Okay, all right. Because when I was introducing you as Denzel Bibbs, my mouth almost said Denzel Washington just by habit. What's so cool though, Denzel, is you were able to take a concept that's been in my head for years, and then now it, like it's in your head. Like you have to think about the doors and the windows, and like we're in the studio, so the windows have got to be, I don't know if I'm using the right word, double pane,
yes,
but this is not just an empty room that we just put some microphones in. Like the insulation and the flooring, you've got to consider all of that. So it's so interesting to be sitting in a building with the only other person who probably knows this building as well as I do, and you know it physically, but I know it like intuitively in my heart about what's had to happen. What did that feel like, carrying something that was a major contract for Findorff, but not its largest, construction project? You guys took care of all the high schools here in Madison and other kinds of. There's always a Findorff. What's that thing? What's the big
tower cranes?
Yeah, the cranes, and like you see it everywhere. But to take something that was major, that the company CEO has a relationship with me, but you also know that we want this to exude this sense of Black excellence, but yet you showed up with a hard hat. But I mean, you're carrying a whole lot. It's business. You understand the weightiness of this for the community, but you also know that you're new at this because you're younger. The media's on this thing and it's being watched. What was that like to embody and to carry all those components for those months, man?
I think it's really fun and exciting to be able to work on a project, right in my backyard. So, driving on the Beltline every day, having just that impact of something going on new physically in the community, but then being able to build those relationships. So working with the architect, the structural engineer, all of, the community members who came here throughout the job tours. That's really the fun and exciting part. Being able to be a resource for the project management team as well on site throughout the 16 months. So knowing the background of how we set up the job and our plan to execute it, and then being on site with the team and kind of tweaking that plan over time as we, came across some challenges and, successfully executed the project over the finish line. So I think it's fun, and having that opportunity as a young engineer to be able to, use the skills that I've learned throughout school, but then also learn the construction process on site through the interactions with my coworkers, all of our subcontractor partners, is really a fantastic opportunity. It's exciting to show up to work every day, only 15 minutes away from my apartment, so short drive. It's a really great opportunity.
Well, you handled it beautifully. Approximately how many rooms do we have in this space?
Oh, I don't know that by heart, but I know it's 44,000 square feet. So,
So Denzel, you were working were you at the table when this was originally going to be like 50,000 square feet, like when it was going to be like a lot larger than it is? First of all, I almost cried like a baby when they came back and said, we've got to cut this to like around 40,000 or less, because I felt like a failure. I felt like, it's so expensive. We couldn't, and it wasn't that we didn't raise the money, because we still were in the market raising money, but just with the difficulty of getting supplies, and then inflation was just going crazy.
Absolutely.
Like I think our project was probably $5 million more at construction than what it was in design. I mean, that's a lot of money. So we had to make these big adjustments. So it was really hard on my end, but you had a chance to watch the shrinkage of that without shrinking its impact. But you and Rafiq, as our architect and designer, still laid something out that when I walked through here, I never miss what this was going to be. I like the design better, although I love that. Remember that curved look that we were going to have initially? I love that look, but that wouldn't have had the same functionality. It's right size. I don't know what I would have done with 50,000 square feet, because some days it's like when I have to walk from one end to the other, I'm getting my steps in this place. But you had a chance to watch all of that, but also thinking about the cultural piece and what it means to the community. And I'm curious, when you came to work, each day, not that you're thinking about it each day or each moment or something, but what did the weightiness of understanding what this means to our community, to the Black community, and our ability to show our best selves or offer our best selves to the community by creating space where we can become our best selves? What was that like, knowing that you're investing in something that the community was really anticipating?
Yes, I think that aspect of the project really gave me motivation every day, and that really positive energy to show up and ensure that the construction process and the design intent from all of the stakeholders was met. So, looking at details multiple times to ensure that, hey, is this really featuring the Black aesthetic, as Rafiq likes to call it?
Yes, he does.
So that was one of my favorite parts. A lot of the unique aspects of the building, like the copper metal panel resembling resilience, is one of the first things that you see off of Badger Road. And then the view of the stained glass windows from the Beltline, I think, really gives this place a sense that it's really a monument in this area of the city as well. And so I think that gives me a lot of motivation and drive throughout like the 16-month process to show up 110% every day.
What part of the building pleased you the most in that it was so different than what it looked like on one-dimensional drawings?
I think it's the multiple views of the building. So coming up from Park Street up Badger Road, we have the grade change around our job site. So that gave the construction process a little bit of a challenge, being the proximity to Badger Road and the busy traffic. But then it also gives it a great design aesthetic, because as you walk up Badger Road, you can feel the presence of the building because of the eyebrow feature that we call it, of the copper metal panel. But then the building looks totally different from the south side. So you see the large multi-purpose room, the precast concrete, the beige and the charcoal Ceraclad siding.
Stained glass.
Absolutely. And then the pergola of the rooftop patio. So one of my favorite aspects about the building is as you walk around it, it really does look different from multiple angles.
That's such a good description. Now, you were always in a good mood, at least when I was in the room, smiling a lot. But did you go home and kick your television set, or did you pick up a pillow and just yell in there? Did you have like a bat, or was there like a punching bag that looked like me that you would like karate chop or something when you went home? Like, would you let it go at home? Because on site, and I'm not saying this, this is not hyperbole. You are always in a pleasant mood, and you're working with vendors and construction companies and weather and
Absolutely.
changes and stuff. Like it could have just thrown you off, but you never demonstrated that. Have you always been that kind of person? Does the job demand it? Just how did you keep showing up like that every day?
I think that's my personality, naturally that's how I show up every day, just having that level-headed mindset. And that's one thing that you have to balance in construction is it's a unique thing to have a project that's pretty large scale and call it your project. So, I would pass the center even on weekends and say, hey, that's, my building. That's what I'm responsible for, right? And thoughts of that responsibility does go home sometimes. So,
Sure.
You're always thinking about the upcoming weather, how we're going to meet the schedule, what materials may be delayed, things like that. One thing that helped was just all of the positive energy that came through you and your team being on site frequently with the community members and community members walking around the site even when the walls weren't up it was just, the concrete decks.
Definitely.
And just the steel.
I loved it.
And people visualizing and really having that concept in their head and dreaming of what the building could be. That kind of energy really diffuses throughout the job site every day, and really diffused even with our crews on site. The amount of energy and the understanding of what the space would be to the community, I think helped guide us, through some of those challenges.
And maybe I'll even add a little bit of that. Every job site has its own subculture.
Oh, sure.
And I think that our team, being there was a bit of a lead up to this project with the fundraising, and they heard about it because I was involved, and they heard this project was coming. Remember groundbreaking? Mm-hmm. The team set it up. It rained that morning.
Did.
So here the whole team is, Justin Plouds, Eric Plouds, Jenna, Jada, Denzel,
Olivia,
the whole team,
yeah.
wiping every seat, Olivia, wiping every seat, getting ready. Then it got really hot.
It got very hot.
Then we're passing water to everybody.
Right.
Keeping everybody hydrated. And I honestly think that was like just set the tone for the project. Because as we went through the project, everybody was in it together. Some were in a Findorff shirt, some were in the center shirt, some were a subcontract shirt, but everybody was working towards your vision, Alex. I mean, we poured the first footing, and here Denzel or Justin, JP's calling me saying, Alex is in the hole right now doing a podcast, showing everybody, hey, Yehle, can you be in this picture? But like when you're excited about something that the crew could be like, I'm pouring concrete, that's my job. Well, is it my job, or are we building something that's going to mean more than just poured concrete? So I think it kind of was infectious amongst the team that Denzel was, he's naturally excited too, but then everybody felt good about it. And then we had a couple lunches. Remember, we'd have some of the employee recognition lunches, and you and I talked about coming out and speaking to the crews so they can hear what they're building. So it's not just hanging metal studs, doing the project, hanging the HVAC, doing the work, but it's what it came about. And I think that was really infectious with Denzel, Jenna, Justin, and our whole team that was here every day set that tone. And the way we acted, everybody wanted to be part of it. I think people are going to be coming here May 6th, Alex, a whole bunch of people. Might be a lot of the construction crews coming back and seeing how it looks.
I hope they do.
Because they left it and they went to the next job, but not like this job. This was special.
Wow.
So, I mean, you give a credit to that, but the culture of this job site, of getting through challenges. Yep, it's going to rain. What's our plan? Or, hey, Alex has got some media coming today. He didn't tell us. That's fine. We're good. We can stop what we're doing. No worries. But really, just roll with it. Because it's all for the greater good.
I remember that day, Jim. You're absolutely right. I forgot that we had not communicated with the crew. So I just happened to say, hey, Justin, do you know I'm going to be like having a media crew like with video cameras in about an hour? He says, no, we're not ready for that. What do they want to see? I said, everything. Like we're and he said, well, we really can't do it. And so I knew that. I was ready for that. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to test it out. He called me like 5 minutes later, said, you know what? We got it. Just stall them. And we're going to get we're going to switch from our construction mode to our cleanup mode, and started getting our brooms and pushing stuff. brushing stuff. And I delayed the media. I went outside and told them some stories about growing up in South Madison, and I delivered newspapers across the street. And then all of a sudden it was time to go in. I remember I wrote you a note and said, Jim, this, and I think I posted something online too. I said, this is how you know you've selected the right construction company. And as I was profusely thanking Justin for this, he said, this is your project. This is your dream. We want to make sure we represent you right.
Absolutely.
That's a different way than how we've done business and how our community does business. And that was a very powerful moment because, one, I knew he meant it. But as I brought the media through, they had no idea about the conversations we had this morning. And it wasn't like, well, you guys better get it together because my media's here and I need to get this money. And so I don't care it wasn't like that at all. He heard my concern for having not communicated it. But then I also heard his concern about not being ready and not wanting the media to come in and catch a messy building, a messy site. But to make that adjustment that quickly, that's what you want. That's allyship. That's partnership. That's not just client relationship. I'm sure it is on the best day, but to me, it felt like he understood that this was a vision, and as uncomfortable as it would have been to bring the media into sawdust-ridden floors, it was very important for me as the owner of this to bring the media in to say, look at what we're doing in the community. And that adjustment to happen that quickly was amazing.
Well, there's one thing to adjust for someone who you have to do it for, and the one who you want to do it for. And I think that's the culture that you all created.
A great point.
Is that he'll do it and he wants to do it for you.
Wow.
That's why I call back and say, if I'm saying, hey, we can get her done. Let's do it. Process that, day's going to change. Sometimes you have to take a breath, maybe talk to the pillow for a second or whatever, and then come back and say, we got it. We got you. Let's do it because we know it's going to for the greater good, and I want to do it for you. And I don't think the team stopped. Denzel was chatting before us. We said, how'd the building weather through the weather 2 weeks ago? Like literally, how did it handle it? We still care about the building. Keys are turned over, but how's the building doing?
Yes.
We care about it.
Yes. There's so much uncertainty in the world right now, but I love that sitting down right here in front of this mic and letting the hard truths rumble out of my heart and off my chest is as certain as it ever was. When I reflect back on all of the seasons that we dropped here at Black Like Me podcast, each of them has had a special purpose, a one-of-a-kind lineup of guests, and its own unique field. I also think about the thread that binds them all together. What we do here at Black Like Me is unique. I don't have another space that feels just like this, where I can really speak from my unique perspective. And the guests who have on the show remark that these interviews they do here are unlike any others that they've done in other places. Sure, nobody else does Black Icebreakers, but that's only part of it. We have created a truly unique space here where honest conversations about the thoughts, the ideas, the policies that affect Black people and that Black people care deeply about. And you know what? It isn't easy. And I don't do this all alone. I have an incredible team that has steadily grown over the years, and each person that joins adds another asset to what we can do here. And all of you that support us on Patreon, my people, my people, my people. We simply would not be able to do what we do or get what we have gotten without you. So as we look to even bigger and better things in the coming season, please help support the show right now by clicking the link to Patreon in the show notes and join the community of people supporting this unique and provocative space. In the world that we're living in, where there's so much attack on our perspectives, our history, our bodies, and our lives and contributions, aren't you glad you have a place where you can still hear powerful, exhilarating, intellectual Black thought like you do? I enjoy it. And so if you do too, share the good news, tell friends, click that Patreon link now. Thank you so much for your support of Black Like Me podcast with Dr. Alex G. Again, the accessibility. I don't know how this works with other companies that are building facilities. Because there's a lot of construction going on in South Madison, and I don't know how it worked for them. And we try not to call Denzel for small stuff like, hey.
He says you
Denzel,
call him all the time, Alex. Don't give me that. Come on.
Oh, Denzel, I'm hungry. Are you driving by Burger King? Right. It wasn't like, although I am going to call him about his Cinnabon. Listen. What? He brought some cinnamon rolls here, and we still think he lied. We think that he drove to Milwaukee and got them from Cinnabon. Those Cinnabons, they're better than Cinnabon.
I do make some mean cinnamon rolls.
Oh,
homemade cinnamon roll.
I'm telling you, we're like, no, your grandmama's at home making these things. She got flour on a rolling pin. No, he brought those in. We're like, Denzel, you made these. They're literally better than Cinnabon because Cinnabon's too sweet, but they were just as warm, just as gooey, but not as sweet. Listen.
I've never had those, so you're very special, Alex.
Well, right now he's just making them for the black community.
There we go. Hey, that's fair.
No. You need to get him. He says you got to pay him though for that, but you got to get him to bring some out. But he's promised to bring some back over here. But he's dangerous when it comes to baking stuff. Jim, can I also bring up another thing that really helped us early on, and that's when, in the midst of the fundraising space, you and Jess made a challenge to the business community. Is it okay if I mention that?
Sure. Yeah.
You made a challenge to the business community by saying, let's get behind the black community, because after all the COVID stuff that went on, when I say COVID, I don't just mean circling the wagons and then being safe at home, but we watched the impact on black and brown people. Like as we're having our discussions about race, we actually watched the numbers and people dying more readily. It became very quantifiable that these diseases are impacting black people, and it's not because of healthcare, it's because of present stress and things that are going on. I just think it was great for just shifting the perspective about the role and the impact of racial strife and racial battle fatigue. But as we were getting our numbers and our plans together, I remember you saying, I just think it's important for the business community to come around black leadership. Or leadership that happened to be black, because I don't consider myself a black leader. I'm a leader who happens to be black, because I don't just lead black people. But I remember when you mentioned to me that you and Jess, we sat down together and said we want to make a contribution of $100,000, which blew me away, because that was not through your company's foundation. It was not a corporate donation. But then you challenged the local business leaders by saying, you have to write a letter, here's what we're doing. Because of that challenge, we were able to raise over $1 million from local CEOs through their personal giving. It was not, people need to understand the corporations also gave, but this was just personal giving, which was amazing. And then you and Jess gave another gift even after that. And there's
we just didn't stop asking. So yes, of course we gave another gift. You got really good at saying the right number, Alex.
I realized
from the days of 10,000, you did better.
Listen, he was on the ropes. I had to work this guild. And so, no, I could just see that the project would have become real, and not just as the CEO of a construction company. You could see the benefit of this on my community, on your community, on our community, on the business community, because never before has that happened. That really floored our community, because don't forget, with everything that's going on in the world, the distrust, the heightened sense of distrust and disconnection between blacks and whites was at an all-time high in my life. I was born in the early 60s, so it was at an all-time high. But that was one of those things that wasn't just financial. It was the statement that those of us who are the recognized community business leaders are getting behind a leader who's black. And it's not out of guilt and fears, because we really believe in this. That's something that happened in a way that I've never experienced in my almost 40 years as a professional in this community. But the black community watched that and had never witnessed it. Not just the level of generosity and philanthropy, but the feeling of it. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't coerced. It wasn't, I get a table, I get a sign, it was, we're supposed to support good ideas. We're leaders, and so let's lead and let's show what's going to happen. That made foundations and businesses look at our work differently, because they saw that level of commitment, and I won't ever forget that, Jim.
Well, thank you for that. And Jess is my wife,
yes,
my partner, and we are fortunate through the work that we do in Findorff and others to be in positions, and often we do it quietly.
Sure.
And I think this, talking to you, is said, well, would it help to leverage our name and get others involved? Not for us, but for the cause. And so we said, let's kind of do this. We talked about how we could do that. And we said, well, what does it pitch? Okay, not companies, but how about individuals?
Right.
What are you doing as individuals? And quite frankly, we picked up the phone, and I'll get in trouble for starting a name, but Mike Victorson, here's what we're doing. We're in within seconds. We're in. Kim Spanham, we're in. Kevin Conroy, we're in. Others, and with their team, with their teammate,
yes,
with their spouse, their partner, and did that. And we
quickly
raised over $1 million in a very quick
Yes.
period where, over a long campaign process, there's ups and downs, and we'd hit a point where we needed like a new catalyst to kind of get people to give on a different level and connect at a different level. And we brought people together, and no amount was too big, too small, was just part of it. But the participation and the names that we put together with that campaign, the Franks, and people gave, and it meant a lot. I mean, it meant a lot to us, but also it helped the campaign and said, hey, we personally are involved in that too, because usually Jess and I don't talk much about publicly about it, but this is a spot where maybe lending a name could help. And our goal was to inspire others.
And mission accomplished. It really did. And the leadership that you and Jess demonstrated made it safer, and maybe, because they feel like, well, the Yehles wouldn't do this if they haven't vetted it, or they wouldn't do this if it couldn't get done. I remember someone asked my project manager, Jim Bauer, who was just fantastic in this whole process. But I remember someone asking him, and they don't live in Madison, they used to, but they said, can G pull this off? And I can't, but I could inspire a group of people who could pull it off together. It was interesting to see people say, he can pull this off. He's been in the community a long time. He's not going to take this money and then not finish a project. And this is not program money. This is construction money. So when we announced that we had raised all the money we needed to have a debt-free facility, I feel like there was a collective sigh of relief in the community, because one, that's what we wanted. We wanted to believe that we could do this in these turbulent times, and we did. And that's a huge win. That's a big W for the whole state.
But even someone, Alex, to say, could Alex do this? Well, why is it just you? I mean, good leaders surround themselves with good people.
Right.
And I think what you inspired were other leaders to sit right next to you. So if anyone would say, could Alex do this? I'd stand right next to you and say, can we do this?
Exactly.
You're not alone. Our team that built this building, Denzel was part of it. He was part of a team. Many people fit things down. Those who think I and just individually, that's the wrong approach. Your approach of bringing people together that have learned beyond just this bricks and mortar, this project, but saying, hey, let's get a team and let's do this together. Clearly, you're the leader, you're the visionary, everything, but you inspire people who want to come and support
Exactly, and that's how I define transformational leadership, like what you just described. Jim, before you and I got to know each other, and Denzel, this is actually way before you came here for school, I sort of ran away from home. Because whenever I would have an innovative idea, the community, and when I say that, I mean like the funding community, would say, well, and they would start naming black leaders. Well, what does person X think about this? Or what does person Z think about this? Or what does this church think about this? And this nonprofit, the thought was all black people had to move lockstep with each other, and that we were monolith, and we did everything exactly the same. So I started doing consulting work. I still held on to pastoring Fountain of Life, but I did consulting work. I'd be back on the weekend, but in New York, California, I felt that business leaders who are on the coast think internationally. So they've got offices that are just opening when we're closing here, just closing when we're opening here. So they thought broadly, and my ideas were accepted. But by being just this unhinged visionary and social entrepreneur, I felt like I couldn't breathe, I couldn't grow in this community. And so I got to a point where I knew I could lead this project, but I wasn't sure if the community was ready for that level of leadership, because what I was suggesting we do was something that their white leaders hadn't done. So this wasn't just innovative for black people. This was just innovative to build a cultural center that talks about the history of any group. I've gone to the one in Stoughton. Like, they have a Scandinavian cultural center. Then there's one near Mount Horeb for people who are from Switzerland. So we see these cultural spaces, but they're a fraction of the space of what we have, and they don't have sort of the maker space and the entertainment space that we do. So anyway, I'm making it much longer than it needs to be, but I was not seeing myself at home in Madison. And so when the business leaders said, we're going to support this vision and support Alex, not because he's black, but because he's a leader, and I had become a part of that group because of some of the work we had done online, that I wasn't the nonprofit leader, I wasn't the community leader, I wasn't the black leader. We could all talk about our hearts for Madison, our love for Madison, and what we want to do together, that the response to the collective voice of the black community and my leadership that I was trying to demonstrate gave me great hope for our community. And it makes me proud to be a part of Madison. And that wasn't the case 10 or 15 years. I was really trying to get out of here and make a name for myself in other places. But the way the community responded to my leadership during COVID, during that period of time as we laid out the plans for the center, was much different than it was 10 or 15 years. And this process has been very affirming, and the gifts from those leaders, but also being able to sit down and say, let's structure a solution for Madison's race issues together, is a real gift to the community that will last as long as this building, and other communities aren't really doing that. They're not seeing each other as leaders, and so civic leaders, we're business, nonprofit, let's do this together. It's usually we do it, you fund it, or we design it, but then we're going to hire the nonprofit people to come and run it. It has not been developed organically like what we've demonstrated in this community, and I hope that Greater Madison-Dane County and the state realize what a gift this process has been. Not this building, but a gift that this process has been, because I think people around the country can learn from this how you really build good for your community while still building cross-class, cross-cultural relationships so that you get both. And I think we try to do one or the other, but there's an opportunity to do this much better.
Well, and Alex, I would add that that doesn't happen without hard work and tough days. And for you talked about running away and coming back. I mean, I remember days with you and having thick skin and dealing with it. When we asked companies or organizations for dollars, said, well, I supported the hub.
Right.
We say, okay, great. You submitted Dr. Anthony and we was doing hub. So I already supported the community. Well, we're doing excellence in culture. It's a different thing. Well, why do you need two things?
Right.
If you could see me right now, you could see my face in the
Right.
podcast. But we said, well, then why do you have the chamber orchestra, symphony orchestra? But that group can have, the arts community can have multiple, but why can't the black community have more than one building?
Ooh.
Remember?
Yes,
a lot
I
of discussions we had. So we did a lot of deep breathing.
We kind of
went back. But I mean, that's where the resilience of pushing through and getting to this point too, Alex. So I think, thank you for having the resilience to get through some of those days that were, didn't feel great.
I really appreciate
the conversations,
that. Yes.
the comments that were made that were not appropriate. We said, okay, well, maybe we're going to keep asking, keep people that really can connect, that it's not just one answer, one solution. Here's an opportunity for the community to do this project. I think another thing real quick, just to talk about how you've been in this community for a long time. I mean, I've been at Findorff 27 years, so not as long as you, but and I've got to know the community. And when we early in the day, would share Rolodexes, how different it was. But we would say, do you know this person at this bank? Do you know this person over here?
And I didn't know them.
And so what we did, we held a couple of sessions at the Findorff office just for you to meet the community.
Right.
That you've already been in, but maybe a different piece of it you hadn't seen. So how this also continue the allyship, right? And bring people together as we had events that, yes, we have the building now, which was great, but what are the things that we do that I think will help the community for years to come? And some of the things that we've done together to just bring people together for awareness, for discussions, understand what's here. Now we have the opportunity opening the facility. Let's get more people here.
Yes.
And what can we do next, which will be super fun to see.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Even when new nonprofit leaders come to town or campus leaders, they come to see me and to see this work because the word on the street is they're getting stuff done over there. They're in the community. They're trying to do good. And so I'm already seeing a glimpse of what you're talking about, that this is a place where people come to be inspired and to see what the black community has built with our allies for the good of the broader community. But I can already feel that draw as I watch people touring this space. I met a new CEO yesterday. But the fact that people are saying, you need to go over to the center to see what G and his team are doing, that feels really good for people to feel that this sort of epitomizes the innovative edge of Madison, because you know where to go to see the tech work and the biotech work. We have places where you drive to this part of town to see it, but to see cultural innovation and cross-cultural innovation, and to know that that's rooted in what historically has been a very diverse community like South Madison, feels really, really good. One thing I want to add that I don't talk a lot about on this podcast, and Jim was just congratulating me on sticking to my guns and going back to the table or to the drawing board when things were going badly. But what most people don't know is that during the Capitol campaign, I experienced my very first hospital stay in my life. I've never been hospitalized since my birth, but that was stress related. And it wasn't because I was at home kicking the fence the stress was not over fundraising. That's a part of it, but it's the stories that you're talking about. Because I know that I'm just as sharp as my peers. And I know that even though I run a nonprofit company, I bring skills that will work really well in the for-profit world. This is not like Monopoly where you pass go and you get $200. I was thinking last night as I went out for my constitutional walk, I was just thinking about life, and I just said, since 1992, I've eaten what I've killed. There's a saying that when you're in sales or nonprofits, you eat what you kill. I have not gotten a check other than what I've raised money for since the early 90s. And I just I thought about that for a moment. Yet there have been challenges with high blood sugar and hypertension and stuff that's related to being black in America. So although I don't bring that all the way to the table, some of those things that you got a chance to glimpse into, because I'm constantly looking at it, I had to make sure that I wove in walking, that I'm weaving in tennis 3 or 4 times. Like the team knows he's not in the office until this certain time, or he's shutting down at this time. Because if I don't do these things, I'm not sure that I'll be around for my family. So I think another piece is that there is a level of stress that leaders that we just carry. You carry it on the side. I know you got to carry it, Denzel, on your side, and all the crews you have, Jim, you do. But in addition to budgetary, staff, HR, political client, economic client, there's still this cultural, racial piece. Again, I don't wear it on my sleeves. I don't always talk about it, but I'm also very, very aware of it. But being able to open this building debt-free mitigates that. It reduces that. The level of excitement, the way Hebing is rolled out, the excitement around marketing, it's like people can't wait to get into the building because, like, what's this big secret? What's this big thing? And so the buildup has just been really great. But the reason why I'm finding that it's important to have these discussions with allies is on this, in this show, is that if I didn't have those trusted relationships, I would only have the bad ones. I'd only have the negative ones. And those are things I've got to measure and watch very, very closely so that it doesn't take me out. But there is that whole element. So I've got to make sure that I'm looking at, okay, how I work remotely sometime during the summer, or what my summer schedule is like, or how I make sure I'm building out time for my wife, Jackie, and I to
think
get
you should
away.
cut out cinnamon rolls.
I
would like to take those from you.
You would like to take those from
just for your health, Alex.
I bet you
for
would.
your well-being.
You can help me by washing out the pans once we get them all in there.
There you go.
Jim, I just think in the midst of this, what a lot of my black peers lack are the real meaningful cross-cultural relationships that give you a chance to say, everyone's not like that. Not everyone thinks like that. Not everyone is saying that. But that piece is very important because we don't talk about it a lot. But that's why, so many of my friends have hypertension or diabetes, or we're overweight, or we're having marital issues. Like, there's so much stuff that goes into doing this kind of work. But having friends and having people to say, let's go for a walk, let's have a get together, let's get together with our wives, or taking the weight of getting this building built or fundraise, all of that stuff really helps me to lean into benefiting what I've been able to create and not let this take me out. So when I talk about the benefit of our allies and folks like you and Jess and your company, it's a big, big deal. It's a big deal, man.
We're happy to be part of your group.
Yes, thank you. As we wind up, let me just ask this. Denzel, this was your first site that you were project managing or manager of. Are there things from this site or process that you want to become somewhat standardized as you oversee other sites? And it might have been unique here because of the cultural connection, what have you, and that may not be the case on every site, but I'm just curious if there are things that you've said, I'm taking that to this next. I think you're working on the engineering building, or wherever you're overseeing, wherever you're managing. What do you take from this project that helps you in your working career?
Oh, well, I think our team always talks about the level of energy and joy that we had throughout this project. I mean, we always say, man, that was a fun project. Wow. So just having that day-to-day culture on the job site is something that, we can try to bring to our other job sites. The amount of energy that the community had for the center being built and eventually open. It's how do we take that in? My next project is the College of Engineering building,
sure.
UW-Madison's campus. So a lot of the students are excited about that project.
Oh, yes.
So how do we harness some of that energy as well onto the job site? And that sort of energy, again, diffuses throughout the job site with the crews. It gives the field crews a sense of belonging on the job site as well. That was one of my most favorite parts about this job site, was how fun it was. And the level of collaboration we also had with the design team, with JLA, Grafe, and Psyche, the way that they brought about this building on a challenging site, being able to design really a monument. I mean, you see it every day from the belt line, and then it's
so beautiful,
a different angle from Park Street. So being able to bring a challenging job site plot of land to something that's absolutely beautiful.
That's great. And Jim, I'll end with asking.
He also implemented, he's not allowing any more last-minute media tours on future projects. So I don't know where he learned that lesson from, but just saying. He's getting good at saying no now. No, just kidding.
Oh, I bet.
Yes,
Denzel, we have one more group. I'm coming over today. I'm sorry for the Denzel, it's raining in here. Denzel, my lights aren't working. Denzel, my heat's not working. By the way, my temperature is really good. So I just need you to know
that's
that.
good to hear.
I know you're glad to hear that. So I can stop calling you about my temperature control. Jim, I want to close out by just asking you this question. You can just give us sort of a brief response to. You've raised your kids in Madison, and they're gone. They've gone to school, or they'll be going to school in other places, other states, and Wisconsin may or may not be their home. But what are you hoping that Madison would be able to offer, say, your grandchildren when that time comes, that's not readily available now? And what role has the center helped in that becoming a reality?
So big question, great question. And I think, my wife and I just grew up in Madison, went to Madison Public Schools. I grew up in La Crosse, went to Catholic schools, so very different experiences.
Sure.
We were very committed to being back in Madison and living in Madison proper.
Right.
Sending our kids to public school where our kids would be friends with, would have different home situations, different economic situations, look different, feel different. That's important because that's what the world is. So we did our best to prepare our kids for that. I think the Center for Black Excellence and Culture sets the tone for respect and appreciation of, yes, the Black community, but not just the Black community, for everybody, for who you are. And I hope that people don't think that if they're white or other, don't come to the Center for Black Excellence. It's for everybody. Right. I think I want people to continue to invest in Madison public schools and private schools and Sun Prairie and Middleton, all schools, but also Madison schools and getting that diverse education. And diversity is a huge word. Math and science is diverse, other education. You look at the quality of education that we have, because Madison will continue to grow. I mean, we're all very fortunate, knock on the table here. We're very fortunate. As a builder, we're very fortunate. But we're very fortunate because we also employ over 1,000 and 1,300 employees here that live and breathe and recreate. Here we get to build this community. So the more we can work together and be a cohesive community, good business community, good nonprofit community, good educational system, good cultural system, I think it'll benefit everybody. And so supporting not just one or picking one versus the other, it's not an or, it's an and. Let's help all organizations. I want the hub to go well. I want the center to go well. I want Overture Center to go well. I want MOCA to go well. I want everybody to do well. It's not a pick. Because if we all do well, rising tides raise all ships. We will all do good work together. Definitely. And if we're picking one versus the other or pitting or being the world where we're extremes, let's be in the middle and let's work together. Right. The best thing we can do is collaborate.
Definitely. I like that, Jim. Let's collaborate. And in collaboration, you've also understood that a lot of these businesses are doing well. Yeah. But when you help those that are fringed or communities that have been marginalized, that's how we all do well. Then that's how we promote it. So your work that you ingested or that Findorff has done to lift up the desires of Black people and the needs around the state by constructing the Center for Black Excellence and Culture, that really helps the tide to rise all ships, because certain groups have not been able to do well for reasons beyond their control. And so you've also modeled that in helping, in putting out a call to help everyone so that we can work together. I feel like it's also a call to recognize the groups that have not yet gotten to the table and who need the support like what you've given to the center so that we can all win.
Well, and Alex,
that's important.
I'd recommend to those groups, like you've introduced me to other either Black-owned business or others who maybe said, well, I didn't know I could talk to Findorff. I didn't know I could ask the question. Well, maybe I didn't know if I could approach them. So how about we quit wondering and come together?
At the center. We're going to make that happen.
Yeah, but seriously, right?
Let's meet in the middle at the center.
Let's work together and do things.
That's a good tagline. Let's meet in the middle.
Meet the middle at the center?
Oh,
whatever you just said, but it's much better when it came out of your mouth.
No, I like it. But we got to have cinnamon rolls and we got to have amaretto sours. Listen, Jim, thank you for being here. Denzel, thank you for being here. I get a little sad when I see you, Denzel, because we told you couldn't leave this site. And you grew up and left home, and you're over there, with the engineering school. But Jim, please know that I really value your partnership, and so glad that we wound up over in Fish Hatchery together, and that you had your assistant write me that note in your handwriting. And no, that was your handwriting. That was your hand. I knew because it was illegible. And then
it wasn't AI. They couldn't even spell AI back then.
That's right. It was handwritten. No, it was a very kind letter. But Denzel, our team, as we showed the building, we would grab Denzel and say, and this is Denzel. He's running stuff. He's our project. But we had so much pride in showing your leadership off and your skills off to the community. And that caused the Black community to walk through and say, okay. They say, okay. And then the next question would be, how old are you, young man? They would get those two things. They would be glad to see Denzel, then they would want to see if he was in high school or not. And so, yeah, no, but you're gonna be
Feel
glad
the love
about
in the
that one
room.
day.
I love it.
You're gonna be glad about that.
Black like me. Black like me.
So listen, everyone, thank you so much for your support of Black Like Me podcast. A couple things that I want you to do. One is share this episode, repost it, share it out on your social media, because this is important, and it's important for us to talk about it. You also know people that are interested, who are in business, and they're interested in strategic relationships, and how do you do it? They can learn from this. Another thing that you can do is write a review. Just because we're in our 12th season doesn't mean that reviews don't help us. They still do. So wherever you download this podcast, take a few minutes, even today, even now, just write a review. Don't just come here and then listen to me and then, not help me out. Do this. This is very important. Click the Patreon link, because for as little as $2 a month, you can support Black Like Me so that we have the technology and the equipment and the team, the staff, to continue to bring you this quality, award-winning podcast. And then just lastly, I just want to say I'm so appreciative for the team that helps me to produce these episodes. Eli and Ariana are just great to work with, and they help to bring this quality podcast to you. And to all of you who listen, who make it a point to download and listen, you're the best part of the podcast. And I really, really appreciate you. So process what you've heard, share it so that you're able to lean into this information and not just listen to it, but you're able to really absorb it. By leaning into it, it will help you to become the kind of person that you want to see living in our communities and making a difference. So thank you for being willing to do that. Have a great day, and we'll be coming back to you soon. Thank you again for listening to Black Like Me podcast with Dr. Alex G.
Black like me.